few years ago, I decided to do the whole eat, pray, love thing with a very large emphasis on the eating. I left my well-paid job in publishing to follow my dream of starting a website selling the best small batch food that America had to offer. Fast forward to a few months after jumping off that proverbial cliff, and I'm wandering through the launch party filled not only with friends who had helped me get there, but also the producers that we had convinced to join our fledgling site with little more than a color printout. As I watched them all eagerly chatting amongst each other, I began to have the seed of a much larger idea. What if we were so much more than just a well-curated website? What if we became a community of artisans that were so much more than the sum of our parts? What if together we could build a network of support, of shared ideas, experiences, and expertise that could take on the larger corporations? We all know that people care more today about what they put in their own mouths and their children's mouths than ever before, and would prefer to stay away from mass-produced foods with a list of unpronounceable names and numbers in the ingredients. This is from any of your shelf-safe, store-bought food that you can find in your local supermarket, and I have absolutely no idea what polysorbate 60 is, but I'm pretty sure I don't want to put it in my mouth. As for the local food movement, there are twice as many farmers' markets today as there were 10 years ago, over 8,000 across the country. But alone, these producers are struggling with only loyal, dedicated fans in their local areas and few resources or know-how about how to get put together an e-commerce solution that could gain them a larger audience. Discoverability is an issue, even though people are prepared to pay for quality like never before. Shipping, too, is a major inhibitor of growth for small businesses. There just aren't the margins to be able to offer the free shipping that so many of us have come to expect. It's a catch-22. You need the volume to get the rates, and the rates to get the volume. So the customers exist, but how to gain access to them? Now, that's where I believe that the culture of competition is counterproductive. When working in publishing, I was trained to be uber competitive. I was always fighting for shelf space. My job was to sell English language books into non-English speaking countries. A large market, you might think, but if you've ever tried to find English language books abroad, you'll know that the choice is pretty limited, and as a result, the competition is fierce. I was certainly friends with my counterparts at other publishers, and we'd meet up on sales trips and at story book fairs around the world. But at the end of the day, I'd go back to my office and my books and get on with reaching my sales targets. One day, my competitor Dan copied me in on an email to a book buyer in Singapore where he pitched one of my books. He'd happened to have read it on holiday. I was completely stunned and, of course, grateful. But more than that, it changed the way I thought about business. It was my eureka moment. I came to realize how everyone benefited from from Dan's actions. The customer got a great recommendation from an unbiased source. I made a fantastic sale, and Dan's already excellent credibility grew even larger. I'm sure I was very late to the game on this, but a little like when you hear a new word for the first time and then suddenly you hear it absolutely everywhere, I started noticing these small acts of professional generosity everywhere. Photographers promoting photographers, architects promoting architects, and so on. Sorry. I sincerely believe that generosity is contagious, but someone always needs to take that first step. Now, I'm in no way saying that competition doesn't exist or even have its place in the world. It is through competition that quality and value improve. But the idea of every man for himself, or rather every business for itself, seems very outdated to me. And although this may seem slightly contradictory, it is through non-competitiveness, pooling resources, sharing information, and promoting each other that I see the smaller businesses being able to compete with the Goliaths. Every Goliath started small. Even Amazon started out of a garage. And I love the story of Jeff Bezos, who had a bell that he rang every time he got an order from someone he didn't actually know. It's hard to believe that that very same company is now in the middle of a huge standoff with major publishers, and authors are taking out full-page ads in the New York Times in attack of their seemingly bullying policies. The fundamental difference here is rather than one company like Amazon growing to become a giant, it is a group of companies being able to remain competitive while adhering to their core values. Among these core values, I wanted generosity to be the guiding philosophy behind my new business. I wanted to promote producers that we admired but didn't necessarily partner with. I wanted our producers to take on that philosophy and reap the benefits of promoting each other. Why not have the maker of the best chili sauce talk to the maker of the best tomato sauce? Why not the maker of the best caramel talk to the poppers of the best popcorn? They all shared the same operational issues and could, together as a group, come up with creative solutions. I really needn't have worried, as it was one of our very own producers who first uttered the words that became my mantra and the title for this talk. Competition, it's so last century. On a very practical level, the benefits of cooperation rather than competition can be immeasurable. Working together, producers can share space, buy materials in bulk, and bring down overheads using centralized systems on everything from packing material to those pesky shipping costs. Just last month, one of our producers, who had been traveling 300 miles to replenish stock, started working with another producer that we work with in Manhattan, started sharing space and delivery costs. The concept is not a new one. The economies of scale have been discussed since the time of Adam Smith, but traditionally have been used to benefit large corporations and their profits, often at the expense of quality. We work with one mother and daughter team whose motto is one jar at a time. We wanted to preserve that excellence and that commitment to quality while using economies of scale to help in other areas of their business. I'll never forget the night of our first official Many Kitchens get-together. I feared, due to my own conditioning, that the producers would be reluctant to share their knowledge. Quite the opposite. The diversity of the group allowed for a sharing of information, ideas, and expertise that was utterly astounding. So many of them had, like me, left their jobs in large corporations to follow their dream. We had a banker who now popped corn with his sister, a publisher now making honey, and a photographer making miniature whisk necklaces out of gold. Their stories were utterly inspirational, and their support of each other not only mutually beneficial, but also epitomized the true spirit of generosity. The common denominator of all these people was exceptional quality. These entrepreneurs were taking specialization to a whole new level. They were feeding a nation that was hungry for ethically made goods of exceptional quality. Some were even taking on bigger challenges, donating partial proceeds to worthy causes, and providing jobs in hard-hit communities in the US and even beyond. I love how Rancho Gordo is working to support farmers in Mexico and keep indigenous crops alive. They are actually creating a market that encourages people to preserve their local traditions, and in this case, heirloom varieties of beans that might otherwise have been lost. With the combined commitment, influence, and intelligence of these chosen experts in their field, whether it be makers of jerky or jam, we can surely see a world where these small businesses can take on the industry giant, where they can thrive and offer an alternative to mass-produced impersonal goods. If you think this all sounds rather Pollyannish, I'd just like you to take a look at the rise of companies like Etsy, who now have an annual turnover of $1 billion. The sharing economy, as it's now known, is most definitely here to stay, and I'm very excited to be part of it. Thank you.